Their reality is showing them, you were tolerating here, you were settling here, you were sacrificing here. That doesn't feel good. That old pattern behavior, that old idea, none of that is at this level of frequency. And so we get to interact with it and bring that frequency in and take actions, patterns, behaviors to, I like to say, recode a completely new reality.
Welcome to the Way of the Healer Conversations for Change podcast. I'm your host, Darieth Chisholm. Here, you'll meet some of the world's most extraordinary thought leaders and experts, iconic artists and creators, top-performing athletes, successful entrepreneurs, philanthropists, spiritual teachers, shamans, healers, and many, many more. They sit with me, an Emmy Award-winning TV host and former news anchor turned filmmaker and life and business coach, for some powerful conversations for change. What are these conversations about? Healing. Healing all aspects of our mind, body, soul, spirit, this planet, each other, and the systems and structures we're currently living in. You'll learn about topics like plant medicine and psychedelics, spirituality, conscious entrepreneurship, conscious communication, the new earth, quantum leaping, multidimensional living, pleasure, play, and sexuality, breathwork, sound healing, food and supplements, and there's just so much. You're just going to need to subscribe to the channel and listen. Come with me now, behind the curtain, to get the backstory on how and why these remarkable people heal themselves and others, how they lead, what makes them tick, what lights them up, gets them down, keeps them going, and what they believe is the way of the healer. So let's go. On today's episode, we have a conversation with Marci Locke, also known as Sundari, the alchemist of light and liberation. She's a global ascension mentor, ambassador of the divine, embodied soul guide, and spiritual leader. In other words, she's a kick-ass Jedi master who works with various different plant medicines, supporting people towards their highest evolution. Her genius is taking you past information into embodiment and to a place of knowing how to integrate the codes of ascension into your daily life to create blissfully enduring change. She says it isn't education that changes your life, it's embodiment. And on this episode, these are the conversations we're having. She tells us about her conversations with light beings, aliens, ascended masters, and what messages they have for her and humanity. While most folks are talking about 3D and 5D consciousness, Marci and I discuss 13 dimensions and beyond. She takes us on her recent darkness immersion in Guatemala, where she spent 4.5 days in the dark, fasting, and you're just going to have to listen for this one. Plus, she gets down about her coffee enemas. Yeah, coffee up the ass. And you definitely want to stick around until the end as we go deep into the conversation of whether or not we choose our own suffering. So join us now for this conversation for change. Plant medicine, psychedelics, and cannabis have really helped me deepen my meditation practice and morning routine. And while you don't necessarily need our plant natural allies to assist you in meditation, I find that with meditation, I'm able to have more clarity, direction, purpose, and allow divine guidance and wisdom to flow through me. Stillness and quieting the mind allows you to access more of who and what you truly are. And that's where you can activate more creative expression and fulfillment of your dreams. As a gift to you, my friends, I've designed a special high-frequency activation to help you encode, embrace, and elevate your consciousness to ignite your creativity and passion. It's free and available for a limited time. Go to darieth.com/meditations to receive a guided meditation series with journal prompts and attuned high-frequency sound waves. That's darieth.com/meditations. Hello, my friends. Welcome to another powerful podcast edition of The Way of the Healer, Conversations for Change. And this one is one for the history books. I've already given you a backstory on Marci Locke and all of the juicy talking points that we get into. in this episode just a few minutes ago. So you're all aware of that. And where I want to begin this conversation for change is how we got to know one another. So for those of you all who don't know, Marci is the woman who I traveled 2.5 hours in a van to the jungle with a bunch of strangers to find my destiny in some vines and some leaves, ayahuasca. What an incredible, incredible first experience with this beautiful master plant teacher sitting in the beautiful Maloka who it belongs to third generation medicine woman, Donna Marta. And most importantly, my soul's awakening. So I owe so much thanks to you, Marci, and I'm so happy that you're here.
Thanks, beloved. Oh, juicy, heartfelt. Oh, yum, 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 yum. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So grateful that you followed your, your curiosity. And, like I know you had mentioned there's lots of things that were in your field and that you came into my field, that we got to experience what we did and led you to that sacred land and that sacred medicine. And now this beautiful path that you're on that's sharing so much awakening and opening and activation for others of what's available. So I feel just as blessed and honored.
Yeah. And I didn't even know you, literally didn't even know you. That I didn't know you or the people in the van or any of the things. So, but again, I did trust what I was being called to. And so much of the conversations that we're having in this podcast series and in the documentary is our ability to trust and be led and be open and to allow things to flow through us. And we'll be talking more about that. But I've got this one question that has just been on my mind, and I need the answer to this.
Okay.
When you are talking and in communication with light beings, what are you talking about? And even how precisely does one have a conversation with a light being?
That's a good question. I feel like we could jam out for days upon days because it's not like in my own experience could be very different than anyone else's experience. But I would say it's more of an awareness of whatever experience I'm in, especially if I'm in ceremony or if I'm working with individuals, as you experienced also where like specific transmissions came through for you. I just have like a open connection communication with guides, with master teachers, ascended masters, angels, aliens, that are just bringing a higher awareness as to like what's actually happening in the system or what's in the energetic field for someone. What I like to call them codes, what code or context of information that they require. I remember I have this distinct memory of being with you where, I was like, lover, this stuff is just what's coming through, and just to bring some awareness. And it's like, as you tapped into that, I was like, oh, click. Oh, I got it. Oh, I see. Oh, and it was like an expansion into an ability to receive even more than kind of our human awareness is still our personal mind is still trying to be in control, because that's what we've had so much experience in, to like, no, this is what I'm here for. And this is and it's trying to contain. And there's so much more available when we surrender, we release and allow like the energy movement and the soul in charge with those sacred sacraments to be able to bring those transmissions. The other piece to that, I'd say, is it's become a lot more in my awareness in the last couple of years, as they said that when I'm in ceremony, I can tap into 13th dimensional consciousness, and which is pulling down new sound and light codes for humanity that have not been here. So it's just my experience where all of a sudden I'll just have these transmissions come through and these sound codes come through, that it's like bringing higher attunement or awareness. Like, for instance, how people can maybe relate to this is if you're ever feeling stuck or heavy in your body, and if you just go and go into like a high frequency, literally you can feel energy in your system start to move, and it helps clear it out because we're just calling in a higher frequency. So there's lots of ways, I guess, that I do that.
Yeah, and very much like channeling. It's what it sounds like. It's my own personal experience, as I have really been experiencing the art and ability to be more present with channeling. I know that most of us have the capacity to do it. It's just this opportunity to practice it. And being with plant medicine, in many instances, allow one to be able to quicken that process and be more closely related. I do have to say something. You actually probably, as I know that you are, because you're a Jedi master, you mentioned literally in the order of my questions are, encoding, which you said, 13 dimensions, which is next on here. And I'm like, how did she know I was getting ready to ask
Tapped
those
into the
questions?
energy in the field already. Yeah.
Yeah, it's already in the field. So
Yeah.
let's talk about what encoding is, or coding, and how one can do that in their plant medicine ceremonies, and then just in general life.
Yeah, such a great question. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we have I'll say like in the state of where our human brain is in the way, we have, it's like we're connected to our subconscious, conscious mind is interwoven. They're actually one, but we've created separation in them. And in this state, which I like to call dream weaving state, is where like theta brain state, we know Joe Dispenza works with alpha state, right? There's where we're in this state where we actually can connect to the energy in the field as well as in our bodies, almost like shift the biology of our bodies, the conditioning of our bodies. Because where plant medicine can support us so much is we go into experiences where our human brain would be like, I am not going there, like suppressing, tuning into old traumas, old experiences. And when we work with medicine, it's like our system kind of softens and we can let these things come up and emerge. So in the same kind of way, there's all this conditioning that's already happened within our body that we get to cleanse, clear, unravel, stuck energy and like preferences, ideas, stories, programs that we have about how life should be, etc. They get to move through our system that we can be, again, activated, awakened to a higher level of consciousness of what's available and more of like being with all of life than down here in this density idea. So encoding is a tool that, I guess there's levels to it in what I like to call surface self-empowerment, where it's like, I'm going to say this mantra, I'm going to say this, what do you call those?
I am affirmations.
Yeah, an affirmation, a declaration, right? And that was a very basic first step, I guess you could say, of encoding way back in the day for me. But what I came to learn is that when the body doesn't believe it, it doesn't do anything for it. It's like, that's just a false lie. So there's the emotional connection to that. What do I get to release that I can emotionally believe that to be true? So encoding is, there's another layer level to where we get to, it's like put this energy into the field or put this code. It's like if I'm a computer programmer, that's definitely not my forte, but it's like, I'm thinking of how it's like, I put this code in and then this is created. It's like we're speaking codes into reality of like what we choose to experience that is then creating a different perception, a different action, a way of being. So there's layers to this. I teach in my 5 steps of how to tune into what's happening in the body vessel to clear that and go, oh, well, this is what I now believe to be true. And this is what I'm going to take action on. And how does it get to be fun and easy that I can begin to bring that into reality? But when we take the opportunity to encode, is what I like to say, like the light being specifically gave me a statement for this, which is I envision and create, which is calling on all aspects of ourselves through time, space, dimensions, realities, all higher energies to all be a part of this envisioning. It's like connecting to the energy of all that's available. And as we think about it, as you speak into the field, maybe it's like whatever you're desiring to manifest, whether that's being in absolute peace in your relationships or in absolute love for your sacred body vessel, or being able to express yourself and share your gifts. And you're speaking this, and let's say you're feeling this, you're feeling it in your system, you're bringing these codes into your system, you're putting it out into the energetic field that's connected to everything. And the statement they gave me is after you're doing that, so it's like we're connecting our biology, the chemistry in our body that's being reconditioned. When we feel that and we can feel it to be true and experience that to be true, and we're putting that into reality, we're using our divine will, our capacity with energy to kind of shift the field around us or encode the field around us. And then the way that we call this in now is now and from eternity to eternity, which says I'm in charge of experiencing this as long as I choose as a sovereign being, through my divine alignment for the highest and greatest good of all. It is spoken, it is done. And so these are just, there's many layers, I guess, to encoding, but it's when we can use it as a manifestation ritual practice, which is one of the most powerful tools. Like if we're going into that theta brain state where we can kind of interweave and feel, just like if you're in medicine, all of a sudden you feel all these things, experience all these things that if you were just in like your human experience, you'd be like, oh, I was tripping. I was in something else. But you actually imprint with it. So you've heard me talk about a lot how it's like we imprint with a new experience we've experienced in our body vessels. It's experiential. Now we know what that feels like, what that is to see beyond these illusions we were buying into before. And then we can recreate that or take that into our reality. So the last stage is a part of the formula I teach in working with medicine, which is integration, is that we're recoding a new reality. Because what happens when we have these experiences in the jungle or wherever it is that you're experiencing this sacred space and in these ways, and then you go back to your reality and it's like, wait, this is not the same frequency and vibration. And what you probably experienced, or most people experience in my in my experience of working with hundreds and hundreds of individuals and in this space, is that 99.9% of them go back to the reality and they're like, oh, this feels dense and this feels shitty and this feels challenging. And it's because they've come to a higher attunement that their reality is showing them, you were tolerating here, you were settling here, you were sacrificing here. That doesn't feel good. That old pattern behavior, that old idea, none of that is at this level of frequency. And so we get to interact with it and bring that frequency in and take actions, patterns, behaviors to, I like to say, recode a completely new reality.
Yeah, it's what I refer to as the shift. And the shift
Yeah.
isn't a one-time thing. It is a constant, gradual shifting that occurs when one is open and available to move into these higher frequencies that probably for the first time in their experience with plant medicine was like you said, and then when you come back, when you come home, it's like, whoa, and then, but that shift is already underway, and it's the process of integrating it. It's the process of utilizing different ways to remain in this expansion that you're experiencing, in this new consciousness that is occurring for you, that should you choose, it will continue to shift and to keep moving, which I find absolutely fascinating. And it's part of the reason why, originally my quest to understand plant medicine was really for two reasons. It was like, what do I do next? And what is this whole expanded states of consciousness and multidimensional living? And so with that, let's talk about what does it mean to live, to understand all of the dimensions, what 3D is. I think what most people understand what 5D is, quite possibly, and a 13th dimension.
There's a lot more than that too. 13th dimension is just the specific dimension of consciousness where it's like new frequencies that is not available on humanity, at least the way that I've been explained it from, again, the light beings that I communicate with. It's like 12th dimensional Palladian consciousness, or Lyrians are another consciousness of the 12th dimension. So it's like these just higher attuned layers. It's like it keeps expanding. 5D, 5D, as much as we talk about 5D, let's all make a 5D. It's like
5D is like the old school in dimension. Like it's old.
Like, beloved, it's just 5D. We're just scratching the surface. We just like got into kindergarten. We're just like, oh, there's new ways of being here. So yeah, and just to say, like in what you were explaining, is that like we're really acclimating. It's like we're integrating, we're acclimating, we're letting it all land, that we can have, like, if your head can feel, we have these ascension symptoms that can happen from going through these expanded, it's like all of a sudden these neural pathways are unblocked in your brain, and all of a sudden you can feel energy, your senses are massively heightened. Hence, like you said at the beginning, all of a sudden you're tapped into, whoa, the awareness of the energy in the field, and like maybe hearing frequencies and having a greater communication, which we all have the ability to do. Every single one of us has this ability and is our greatest healer, our greatest own guru. It's not like, oh, that person, they can channel angels, they must be glorious. Well, they just tapped into that ability, and still, even people doing that have all their human stuff to still learn to, alchemize and heal as well. So I guess a easy way of explaining maybe some context to it is you think of like 1D or maybe 2D is like there's the plant, there's the minerals, and there's the like rock and minerals is like it's non really moving, experiencing life in a different way, conscious. And then we have, we go 2D is like animals and plants that are alive and are breathing and are, that's maybe their level of conscious, if you explain that way. 3D is us humans. we're just a step above the animals. We're just, doing the human 3D
Sometimes.
thing. Yeah. 4D is more when it actually feels like your shit is elevated, because it's when it's calling forth everything that is of illusion to be alchemized. So it's like when people are rising, again, it feels like they go down, if they feel like they go more dense. And this is the beautiful pathway of our activation, our ascension, is that we go deeper into the shit that we've hid and suppressed, so that we can, let's clear that up. And I see that different. And I clean and heal and alchemize. And then I expand up into a higher states of more bliss, more joy, more love, more awareness, more ease, more grace, more flow, more abundance, because I'm at a higher, yes, that's what's available and I'm here for. And then we go, there's another layer. And we go down again, into the next layer. So that's kind of like 4D it's very much facing all the illusions of reality and programming, to enter into what I say a base for 5D context would be operating from unconditional love. So again, to human 3Ds, we're like, wow, that's got to be the top of the mountain. It's the top of a mountain before we descend into a valley to go into more depths. Like, can I operate from even greater and greater, 6, 7, 8, 9, and continuing to just expand our awareness and our beingness with life, and our neutrality with all of life, and our surrender and allowance, and just coming from a vibration of, again, what I like to say is like new earth being. It's like, one of the assignments I was given in the last few years was to create my Aligned to Manifest life mastery program, which was to call forth the new humans of the new earth, to teach them all these levels of consciousness and practicing these tools and how we operate. So from that place, it's like the light beings like to say, there's no such thing as laws in higher dimensional consciousness, because you wouldn't need a law to say, don't steal or hurt that person or murder, blah, 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 because from that level of conscious, I am you, you am I, we are, everything I put out, I receive. So why would I hurt you? Why would I judge you? Why would I do anything that is not of that vibration? It's like, it doesn't even exist in their awareness, right? So we have some layers to continue to evolve through, and what our preferences have been from our experience of life, or our sanskaras is in India and in the Buddhism, and a lot of the enlightened masters I've worked with, it's like they refer to the sanskaras, which are just these wounds or traumas or energy stuck energy that
I've had energy
has been in the
stuckage
body.
before.
Stuckage. Yeah, that's stuckage of energy. Human words. It gets to come up in life, that it can be, we can actually relax into and witness and let it be move through our systems. So Sacred Sacraments is like a fucking quantum leap fast path to, getting out of your way, because again, just from this, like, okay, I'm going to study mindset and my emotional, that scares me. That doesn't feel good. Okay. Why is that? Blah, blah, blah. I love all that. That's definitely what I teach in the pieces in between of how we get to operate from that in our daily life. We catch these things and we alchemize them and we choose. And when we can it's like that programming gets to step aside, and we're in our soul's communication with these sacred sacraments, to like the depths of these connections, lifetimes, energies, etc., are getting to come up and be revealed and move through us. That's why you come out and you're just like, like you're a completely different being, and then it's then the opportunity is, how do I bring that level of multidimensionality that you're speaking to, and awareness, and I'm still here to be human, and bring that into my human experience. I am multidimensional, and I have this, I know how to play with energy and create and manifest, and I can have the most glorious human experience as well, because I'm here to be human.
Yeah. And it sometimes can be challenging for people coming out of these incredible ceremonies to really bring with them the experience that they've had, because it's a first-time experience, right? And then B, because we are so dense in our 3D experience, that these experiences for us are truth. And it's so-called truth, because it's what we've been living, it's what we think, and therefore, and then you have these breakthroughs with plant medicine, and it's like, but maybe I think differently. And it is what one, I think, discovers as you come to learn to work with these sacred sacraments.
Yes. Well, I love that you brought that up, because that is what I see as one of the biggest things that are holding back someone's, what they're actually able to receive in medicine. This is why, we go through a deep process of preparing and learning to work with the medicine, learning how to not let our mind get in the way and loop and just play with the energy moving through us, and all that awareness of how we're playing with the energy of the medicine. Yet, my love, even with all that, even if I prepare you to the nines and have it like, okay, and this is what's, as you feel this energy, this is how you move it, and this is how you work with it. And yes, fear and anxiety are going to come up because this stuff wants to come up. And this is how you play with it so that we don't have trauma and all these other things. The actual studies in a lot of the scientists and the doctors that I've worked with, because I've gone deep into how do we get to receive what happens in medicine and this communication better. And I've gotten really curious about that. They, in their studies, there was like 85% of what you receive gets blocked by the ego. 85%. And so this is why through the years, actually grandmother, abuelita, grandmother Ayahuasca told me 6 to 8 years ago when I started working with her, where she said, track every single experience you have with me and have all your people do it too. And all my retreats I'd always done. And I didn't know why. It was just like, as soon as we come out, track and capture everything that we can. Now I've had many upgrades from even that, where it's like, so that we can so if someone goes back and they listen to that. So I have my people after a retreat, where they track and they capture, and then they're going back through and they're like, okay, what are the things I was shown, what I was called to, what is the pieces? And I'll give you an example. Like in one of my recent retreats, one of the beloveds had, after, as we were talking and doing some integration, she was like, yeah, I had, these visions of me leading these sound healing alchemy things, which she's super passionate about, doing these womb clearing healings, which she's done a whole journey around. And she's like, but I'm a single mom and I got to keep my job as like a mortgage person or whatever. And you see how instantly, even though we got all this guidance and awareness, and this is what I get started, the mind jumped in and goes, oh, but that's not safe. You can't do that because, and that's the program that goes, oh, let me just push that out and I'll just stay here. And I helped her catch it and see it. And now she literally has left her job and she's running experiences and doing all this stuff. But that's like an example of where we get divine guidance of where our path is, our purpose, where we're called to go. And through our human experience, we do get to learn how to follow the energy. And I think it becomes so much easier to listen and to operate in life from your intuition, from your guidance, just like you had it wasn't even your field of awareness. So you had the experience and you're like, this is what I'm called to do. And you followed. And the more clean we are, the more we've cleared out, it's like the more of a clear vessel we are to like have that innate communication with ourself, with our intuition, with life, with the higher energies of like, ooh, this comes into the field. Ooh, what would that look like? And moving that way, because we've cleared out a lot of the stuff that says, no, you can't do that, but that still is happening. And so especially if someone is first in the experience, so there's what I want for people to have an awareness around is how they can not only be in communication with the sacred sacraments and the spirits during the experience and move the energy, have so much more happen, like lifetimes and lifetimes of things can be cleansed and cleared and get that guidance and direction. But then how do they capture that? Not just, okay, I had this experience here. It's like, you could probably go back to your experiences in the jungle and you have like a remembrance and you can tune into like a feeling and like, oh, when this message came through and I have these memories of you just like dancing and like shining it up. And it's like, you're like, oh, this came through and this energy and then I'm just, oh, da, da, da. And you can take yourself back to that and go, and you can imprint with that feeling. So that's one way we can do it. Yet, what I've started to create or have in my retreats now is like integration specialists that are also like, let's go back, let's listen to your audios. Let's like, you hand transcribe what those messages were. Okay, how are you moving forward on that? How are you integrating that? And we're like bit by bit for weeks and weeks and even months at a time, tuning back into that. Because even to go, okay, I track and captured and yeah, okay, these are the messages I got and I'm moving forward on that. You still are missing tons of gold in what you actually experience. And so the more I've gotten curious with how we actually receive everything that's available and track that, and we are, moving forward on that, and we're looking at all the pieces of what we're healing, it's like one experience can it makes the biggest, hugest difference in your life than what a lot of people, where they just go have a great experience and they had some shifts, they had some these great feelings, but then they, like you said, they come back to human life and it's like, yeah, that was just when I was on medicine.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that.
It's such a beautiful reflection of the intelligence of these plants, and that the intelligence, while felt and experienced in journey, as you point out, when we make it back home, 85% of it is someplace else because we were someplace else in the experience. And yet the intelligence of the plants can be with you for weeks and months out. I also believe that part of the intelligence is to really allow us to come home to ourselves and understand that we are the medicine. We don't even need the medicine when we get to that point.
Yes. So happy that you brought that in as well, because it's like all these things that are activated in my own personal experience. I remember one time even working with grandmother, and then I, at the time I was living in California, back in California, and I was in like the Yogananda self-realization garden, and I was meditating, and all of a sudden I started having all this communication with grandmother, and she's telling me, I'm like talking to her, and it's like you don't actually need to be on medicine. It's that you open and it's like you clear your system and you open and access what is your true DNA, your divine blueprint, where it is like, accessing or awakening that DNA that we block, that is allowing us to have connection with all things and all that to be available. So it's like medicine will, it's like when you go back to it is when it calls you again, when there's more layers, right? Because there's many layers that we get to do, but it's not, I can only be experiencing this when I'm on medicine. This is what I think is the shadow of what we've heard about medicine, because people haven't learned how to first off prepare themselves and work with it and then integrate, that they think it's only about when they're in medicine that they have this experience, and so I've got to go back so I can have this elated experience because that was just like bliss and I was free, etc. That freedom imprinted within you, and all the messages and truths is saying now you get to go home and integrate this into your life, that you be this freedom always, because you are the medicine, you are the magic, you are the miracle, you are the sacred, you are source, and source doesn't seek, source just is. So it's almost, we're just coming to that connection, remembrance that we are source. We are, again, I choose my perception. I code in my reality with my words. I see everything through beyond the illusion of the human programs of unconditional love and acceptance and light and bliss and joy, and everything has a right to exist. And all these awarenesses, that's what I'm bringing into how I operate in life.
Yeah, and you point out, we are the source of our experience. We are the source. We're the creator. We are the ones who are having the experience and having the experience. It's like, period. You're having it and you're having it. And you are the creator within the creation. And it's a continuous flowing of the energy that we came here to be. We came here for this, and in the knowing, which brings me to this question about like, why is it now that the new earth is really revealing itself and this awakening is occurring at what I can, from my, small understanding of really what's going on right now with the universe, really see that there is this massive shift that is occurring, and more people are awakening to higher levels of consciousness, to new earth, and like what it really means to be in this unity consciousness and oneness with one another.
Yeah. Well, in some ways, it's funny because all things have a right to exist, and polarity is what we're here to experience. So it's like I and you could be like choosing new earth experience right now, and someone else in the world can be choosing hell, damnation, life is horrible, awful, etc. So it's more of like I would say we've seen with the previous experiences the last few years how there's been a lot of cleansing and clearing. It's like anything that is not a higher level vibration is getting cleansed and cleared, from the systems, from education to government to banking and finances. All these things have had opportunities for us to upgrade, to go, wait, we're sovereign beings and we get to choose to have a different experience or have a greater experience. And there's still a lot of people that aren't even aware of, beyond that illusion. So that's why I'm like, well, it's a matter of choice for ourselves, is knowing this. Who do I choose to be? What do I choose to bring into the world? And yes, more than ever. And I guess I could say a couple years before whatever you want to call it, COVID, etc., the labels for it came out, the light beings had said to me that there was going to be a big shift coming in the world where they're like, we can either choose new earth or it can choose destruction. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, guess whatever happens, happens. And I'm up for it all because I'm obviously choosing to be here in this experience. Again, neutrality to all of it. And it was, they've shared with me many times, almost like how with new sound and light codes that have come in and how there's a tipping scale. They're like 53% of humanity is right now choosing higher elevated consciousness. So it's tipping the scales towards new earth. And at the same time, like I said, I can be experiencing new earth now. It's not like I have to wait. Heaven is a state of consciousness. So it's not that I have to wait till this happens for, me to be experiencing. I just get to be it and be that transmission and that frequency and that experience of life that gets to share it with other people. And hopefully people see, oh, that's also available. Yet there has been, I would say it's just like, it's been building. I won't get too deep into like some of the, a lot of the underground type different things that have been happening on the planet, as well as many other planets for a long time. That's just a part of our journey of healing Pachamama Gaia, being in connection with her. Again, when we choose to live in ways where we honor the earth, we honor, the waters, we honor everything, we honor everyone, that it's new earth frequency is everyone wins. There is no win-lose. There's only win-win benefit for all. Everyone's prosperous, everyone's thriving, everyone's fed, everyone has, a roof over their heads. There isn't this separation. So unity, as you're speaking to, like the unity consciousness is again coming to the awareness that like I am all things. So how could I ever separate myself from that person, that way of being? That's why even from this higher level of awareness, as we've gone through these shifts, some people are still choosing, I'm going to judge that, like that system, that government, etc., instead of our only way to cleanse, heal, alchemize, and bring it to a higher level of experience is to love, to accept, to be. So the light beings have kind of explained it to me, and there's these different waves of how you could say people, there's the people like, oh, I'm going to fucking fight this, and I'm going to show up and I'm going to rally. And it's coming from fight energy. And then there's let's go up to a highest realm, which is like, I'm going to be love. It's like Mother Teresa said, you can invite me to a peace rally, but if you invited her to a war rally, she's like, no, why would I put my energy and my focus there? So it's like a constant evolution that we're in. And more than ever, we can see there's been big shifts in the world propelling us forward to which it's almost like it has to get more challenging for people to wake up, right? To be like, am I going to buy into the program, or am I going to dissolve the program completely? Am I going to play the game and in a comfortable way, or am I going to dissolve it and be like, there's so much more than the program in and of itself.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when I think about if I think back 100 years, 200 years, I mean, in no way would these types of conversations be occurring, because at that time, the mass collective conversations and consciousness was nowhere near the types of conversations that we're having and more people are having. And so this process of evolution that humanity has gone through, the cosmos, all of us are kind of moving through it along with the planet and even the plants. I often think about this huge wave that is occurring right now, where more people are having conversations about plant medicine and choosing psychedelics, and really choosing that as their path, if you will, at least to fast tracking into higher states of consciousness. Is that it's as if the plants even know that because this new earth reality is now underway, that they are perhaps proponents or conduits to getting people there if they choose. We know you can probably get there through breath work, through various different means. And yet the plants are coming into this field with us.
Yeah. I mean, there's many ways up the mountaintop. To come from a place to say this is the way and the only way would be not the highest vibration of consciousness. And I can only share from my own experience and why I feel like it's just grown immensely for me as a part of where to put my attention and focus and my passion and my voice in this last year, which has also shown up even with you doing the documentary, was that, I mean, the light beings were like, and the sacred sacraments, grandmother's been telling me for years, it was like 6 to 8 years ago, probably, she told me, start talking about it. And I was like, nobody's talking about it. they're all going to think I'm on drugs and I'm woo woo. And I mean, I am woo woo, and
The
but
wooest of them.
I am super woo woo. I love it. And I'm super human. I'm all of it. And I mean, I was raised in a strict Mormon religion, LDS, etc. And even though I wasn't participating in any of that as my way of life, I was like, oh my gosh, my family, everyone's, and I was like, you know what? I cannot deny what I've experienced working with sacred sacraments. Like, how could I ever deny that for anyone else? And someone's got to start talking about it. That's how we create a new way, is someone has to start. And I started talking about it. And here it is, like 8 years later, and everyone's talking about it, and we can talk about it. And it's like, now, I mean, beloved, I don't know if you just heard the legalization in Colorado. Like, it's like, it's how like celebrating, like we are encoding. I've been encoding that for a while, that like, we see the legalization of this and people hearing the truth, which you're doing through the documentary and these conversations, as well as that people hear what's available and how to experience this in safe, sacred spaces to be able to have this expansion awareness. And it is a massive fast track. It's like why I started I was doing retreats long before with like my mindset, emotional training, and all the things that I've done. And I chose to work with sacred sacraments for several years before I ever took clients through it or did groups with it or whatnot. And I was like, it was one of the motivators for me, is like, if I've had this much expansion from this, how could I not like offer that or support that or let the clients that I'm working with, that I'm invested in their growth, their expansion, know about this? It was like, this would just be, it's like, I can't imagine not everyone having this available, and which so many people have as they go through sacred sacraments.
Yeah, it reminds me. Yeah, it reminds me of my first experience with ayahuasca. And I will never forget, I laid there in the jungle and I had my right hand out and I'm like, what am I going to do next? What do I do next with life? Like what funnel, what email, what business, what am I doing next? And I got the very clear message. All it was love. And it was like, I could hear this voice, and I was like, and I kept hearing it and feeling it actually. And I was like, wait a second. I did not travel all this way with these strange folks to lay here in this jungle to talk about love. I know what love is, like seriously. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, all right, so what's next? And it was like just this sensation of love. And then I spent the entire day in journey with grandmother in this experience of love, like feeling love and trusting love and knowing what love and thinking about how people love and why we choose to do love. And like, it was all love. And I'm like, well, that was not what I was asking for, but it was surely what I needed.
Yeah, babe. I love that. I remember you sharing that, where it's like, my humans like, oh, okay, whatever, love. Like, again, why would I travel all the way to Colombia, a strange country, and this woman and all these things just to that, right? That's how simple it really is. And that's all the human stuff that's in the way.
Yeah. And what I now know and understand was that experience was so profound for me that I remember saying that everybody and their mama literally needs to do this. And at the time, I didn't connect the dots. 4 journeys later, in the week that we were there, it still never dropped in like, what am I going to do? And then when the message to do the documentary dropped in, did I connect the dots that the documentary gets to bring people the information about these plant medicines and what I believe is truly the overall message of what it is, what love is. And so now it like coming full circle, it was like, so I really did get what I needed to know, which was everybody and their mama needs to know about this. And obviously, here's the documentary.
Yes. And I love that you brought awareness to that, because it is like, you are still communicating with the sacred sacraments. You've created that connection. You're building a relationship. It's like you've opened up communication with higher awareness, higher consciousness, that as you're integrating and you're like taking that next step and you're moving things through your system, or you're taking new patterns, behaviors, it's like the next piece, where you were like, oh, I get it. I see the exact calling forth, or exactly what it's to do, and all the things that were connected. And what I also love in the many years of working with medicine that I finally get as a context as well, is that it's like, no matter what people put as their intentions, as I have people prepare themselves and like, what are your intentions? But then we let go of those intentions. It's like no attachments, no expectations, because whatever comes up, is the next thing required for your soul to heal and to experience and imprint with, that you can move forward towards eventually even getting that. And yet what most people experience like you is that like with some retrospect, they're like, what, that was exactly what I intended. Like I set this intention. It didn't look like I was getting my intention from the human brain, but I was getting all these, healings, imprintings, activations, awarenesses. And whoa, that actually is exactly what allowed me to create and experience what I was intending. So I'm always like, I feel like everyone always gets what they intend anyways, even if it comes about later in different ways, because all these pieces are interconnected. It's like such a higher awareness that we're working with and consciousness than us. This is why I really love working with sacred sacraments with like my high level clients and the people in my programs and that are invested into that desire to open and expand, is because I'm like, I could coach you from the Marci Locke journey and mindset and emotional training and all the things. And I've definitely had a journey, and I've traveled all over the world, and I've done immersions upon immersions with enlightened masters and darkness immersions and much more than just sacred sacraments. And that would be me trying to be in control. That would be my awareness. And I'm not in your body. I'm not your soul. I'm not your mind. Like, it just takes out all the guesswork. It's like, it's not up to me. It's up to your soul. It's up to these higher awarenesses and consciousness connected to your soul that pre-planned and pre-paved it all to like be here in this experience and do this. I'm just here to fucking support you and like guide you in the, in where the human can get in the way, that we can process and move through things, that we can keep opening, expanding to the next layers. And like, oh, and this is how we're going to take that and integrate it into the human world. And we're going to prepare ourselves. But it's the fucking medicine and the sacred sacraments and this higher consciousness. It's like it just makes it so easy.
Yes, it certainly does. Did you know that beyond this podcast, that I help busy entrepreneurs, storytellers, artists, creatives, and healers who might be feeling a little bit bored and burnt out and trying to figure out what to do next and what's my purpose in life, really find those answers? How? Oh, I say it's through shifting. It's just a matter of shifting your vibration and your frequency to higher states of consciousness and awareness in order to find the answers and live the life that we truly desire to live. So if you want to become a deliberate, conscious creator who is enjoying the creations and the manifestations that you are experiencing in life, then I invite you to be a part of a very special 5-week intensive. You can get all the details at darieth.com/shift to learn more. You can experience wholeness, personal freedom, expanded states of creativity, confidence, and flow while achieving your goals and flourishing in your unique gifts and talents. After this podcast episode, please head over to darieth.com/shift to learn more about it. We're definitely tracking one another and in flow in this conversation, because the next item on my list is the conversation about your darkness immersion. And you just brought that up. So, I can't wait to hear how that went.
Yeah. Oh, this has been so I just came out of the darkness. Like, I think it's been like a week and a half, maybe close to 2 weeks. It's my second darkness immersion I've been in. Actually was working with grandmother, Abuelita Ayahuasca. I had run 4 retreats this year with grandmother. And the last 2 retreats I did where I was just in Colombia, I'm now in Guatemala. And my first in this one retreat, like all of a sudden, and it wasn't even during medicine, it was actually like the energy, you could call it the spirit, the awareness, the consciousness of the darkness came in and started communicating with me and was just like sharing with me these remembrances of being in the dark and these messages. Well, ironically, then I go to process everyone from after our day of medicine, and all these messages from the dark were like, this was exactly what everyone required. So it kind of popped in. It was like, remember the darkness is like, there's these messages. Well, then grandmother and the darkness in my next retreat both came in and was like, you got to get your ass in the dark. It's time. Go back. It's time to get your ass back in the dark. And I was like, okay. So I follow, and my assistant I was headed to Guatemala next, looked in and found one place that had one opening the whole time I was going to be here in Guatemala. And my soul was like, I get to do 5 days in the dark. You know, I'm going to fast and do that. That's what I was called to. Last time I did fasted for 7 days, did 4 days in the dark. And it was a completely different experience, which I also like just noticed the level of different attunement I'm at. You know, the last time I went to the dark, it being my first experience, it was very much a mind fuck. And it was very much a learning to like all these things I got to heal with my mind and letting things come up. This time it was like, I'm going in to integrate everything that I've been receiving. And that was a big reason why I feel like I was called into the dark is, you know, I had a lot of retreats and like a mystery school immersion I was in and a part of, and we did the documentary filming.
We filmed for a week.
Yeah, like a day after I came out of a deep medicine experience and then, you know, went right into running retreat and all these things. And it was like, you have not integrated. And when we stop and allow all these codes and these things to integrate. So I took the time a few days before, which I'm so grateful to have the awareness I do about preparing and knowing how to maximize these spaces from working with medicine and these different things is I went back through my audios from when in one of the recent experiences I did out of curiosity of how we track these things better is I did this deep medicine experience where they recorded everything and I was just transmitting for hours. And so I got to go back and listen to those transmissions and those messages and feel those imprintings in my body. And I was writing out and going back through my tracking and my audios and my journals from all the last retreats that I've done with grandmother and taking those messages. And I was like, I'm integrating these messages and these codes. I'm going in there to integrate, to fully be. And I knew my only job this time was just to love everything and just witness where my mind was at and what would come up and how to. The other upgrade that grandmother's given me and the light beings in the last couple experiences was how to like upgrade my mind completely to not ever loop, to like catch it and go, oh, yep, I got that. And hey, mind, guess what? When you bring me that information, I've received it. Now go gather new information. It's either new information or we get to be here. And just, there was all these upgrades I got to like experience and play with. And coming to a place of just witnessing these, I'm consciousness, just witnessing consciousness. And so letting these send scars or these things come up and just be witnessed and a whole nother way of alchemizing. That isn't that I necessarily have to always, you know, I did transmit some sound codes. I actually took in an audio recorder and got to capture transmitting some sound codes and different things. And just a lot of what I wanted I felt called in this time was to dissolve the illusions of the dark, because I had the last day and a half, just pure constant light codes, like constant light for at least a day and a half. It was just nonstop light. Didn't matter if I closed my eyes. It wasn't like it was just in the room. It was like inside, outside, everywhere, lights, like different greens and yellows and reds and sacred geometry, and then white lights and flashing and like codes coming through. Yeah. So the last day and a half, I was just receiving these constant, like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like visions of sacred geometry, different experiences of light from all different colors, just like flowing into my system, just like frequencies. And like, it's almost like with my heartbeat, it was like these things were just flashing and coming in. And I think after like a day, I was like, okay, am I gonna get any sleep? And I remember closing my eyes and being like, it doesn't matter. My eyes are closed, my eyes are open. I'm just receiving all these frequencies. And I just turned to like, yes, this is what I came for. Like integrate, imprint. So I just had massive, beautiful experiences of light, which is again, the illusion of the dark, that the void or the darkness has nothing or no thing. It's like the Mother Mary prayer, which is Mother of all things, take me to that place deep inside my womb where I may know no thing and be reborn anew. And it's like in the void, in the womb consciousness, the birthing that's available, all things exist. Like all the light is there, all the creation is there. It's like why, you know, in the universe, 89 point some odd % of the universe is dark energy, which is just energy that literally, again, as we connect to our mystical, multidimensional ability connection to energy, it's like we create from that place. It's all there to be birthed from that place. So I felt like I got to practice just so being with myself fully. And felt like I came out reborn and rebirthed at a whole other attunement and embodiment of like coming out. It's like when you've been fully with yourself in the dark, and where it's like you dissolve fears, anxieties, anything. It's like there's nothing that can you can buy into these stories anymore. It's like coming out, and when it's a whole journey just to feel your way into like brush your teeth. And I was in a very simple like silent meditation retreat center where it was like compost of, you know, you lift up this toilet seat to pee in that one, and you lift up this toilet seat to poop in that one, and put, you know, sawdust, and I'm in all in the dark. And so
Wait, I was
like,
going to say, describe if you can, just so we have a visual
yeah,
of the darkness you were in.
yeah. I mean, if I had did this in front of my face, you can't see it. It's like pitch black.
But the
So it's
room,
basically a room with a bed. I had a bed. It was like a concrete like room, like solid concrete, no light coming in. I had a bed, and I literally could walk in and had a little meditation chair bench here. A little shelf or two above like some altar space that I, you know, could like, okay, find my toothbrush. It's right there. And then I would step down into this, like slide this door, step down into this bathroom that, again, very simple, because I was, you know, it's like a self-sustainable eco silent retreat space. And it was like, okay, if you're going to poop, you're going to poop in this one on the right. And if you're going to, and then you got to find the sawdust and put it in there. And if you're going to pee, good thing, like, cause I dry fasted for 3 days and only water fast. I like, I peed a few times, but it's like, and if you got to pee, you're going to pee in this one. And then it's literally just a tiny sink. And there was a shower, which they told me only had cold water. I was like, I'm not even going to try that. Not even going there. And that was it. And so as much as I thought, like, I brought in some things for like me to like my yoga strap and things to like open my body and stretch and flex. I did do Rapé, which the traditions of the shamans and that would use this immersion as an experience is they would go into the dark and they would do Rapé, which you've done obviously with me in Colombia, as well as in the other experiences. And to the sacred tobacco to light up and open their neural pathways. So I did do Rapé in the dark. That was fun. It's like trusting how much I measured my hand. Good thing I've served hundreds of people and done it thousands of times. And I was like, okay, I think I scooped up half. Okay, here we go. You know, and then like I had the intuition to bring a spit cup. I had the intuition to bring you know, my wipes, which I'm so grateful for. But just to like, in the dark, find my toothbrush and my toothpaste. Okay. And then like, okay, here's the door. Okay. I like step down. Okay. Find the sink. Okay. Okay. Water. Okay. Okay. How do I even get toothpaste on here? And going through that. And then, okay, I got to turn around. I got to dry my mouth and walk out just to like find, okay, where I set my toothbrush. Like it felt like such a energetic marathon that then I was like, just get back to the bed. I also had been fasting for days before in preparation in this. And this was just I don't know if other people have ever done it that way. I've never heard of anyone else doing it that way. This was just what the light beings had guided me to, is that I like have no interruption within my system. And I've found, because food can be such a distraction, that we're like, even when I scribbled on a note, like asking them the last day, I was like, if they could just bring me a tea. And I feel like as I dry fast this last day, or as I water fast this last day, I noticed I had so many human attachments to my tea. Like, oh my gosh, what is it daytime? Is it nighttime? Are they bringing me my tea? Oh my gosh, I have a tea. And I was like, whoa. And they came once and then there was no tea there. And I'm being like, what the fuck? Like, why are they checking on me? They're not going to bring me my tea. And I was like, whoa, see what attachments do. And can I release that? So it was just such a beautiful, practice of integrating these higher awarenesses. And then I felt like I came out, like I said, like, I mean, just to be able to see. And I mean, to brush my teeth with ease, to go to the bathroom, it's just like, it's all here. It's all available. There's nothing
level of
ever
appreciation,
missing.
I bet.
So much appreciation. And just to like, so why would I ever create a story that creates suffering or operate from the consciousness of lack or scarcity, that something is not here, or it's not right in this moment, or it's not the way it should be, blah, blah, blah. To me, I'm just like, it's just silliness. Where there was a level of attunement before that, whereas like I could catch the ideas and, oh, what do I get to heal and alchemize, and catch frustration or anything like that. Now I'm just like, it's like, it's just this level of attunement of like, it's so glorious. And what's been beautiful is now integrating that and embodying that. Cause I had a little initiation with a scorpion the other day. And like bug bites and where instead of me being like noticing where the past me would have had like a level of frustration is, you know, annoyance, it was like, I'm so glad I can see body. Like, you know, like the joy that I'm in this, and this is beautiful. So that's just one immersion. And this is why I geek out on, and I've been doing this for many years, of like continuing to find these layers and then just live from this place, which is beautiful and available for all of us.
It has to be an undeniably rich, scary, enlightening, fearful, like everything that could possibly exist on the spectrum, you know, from good to bad, if you will, and everything in between, to be in that experience. Like literally, you know, people often do many things like climbing mountains and scuba diving and jumping out of planes and all the things, but 5 days in the dark with no food and like no human contact is I can barely, it's ineffable.
Yeah, you know what's funny though is like, because I was sharing with my last group that I took through Colombia with grandmother, because I was, you know, going to be leaving Colombia and going to Guatemala, and was sharing this, and some of them were like, "Oh my God, that sounds so scary." And I was like, you know, the crazy shit that I've done all over the world, like I've swam in underwater or underground cave waters with 5-foot eels, and you know, I've cryogenically frozen my tonsils to open my neural pathways. I've been sat in caves with enlightened masters. I was like, sitting in the dark feels really safe compared to a lot of the stuff I've been called to. And absolutely, the last time I went in, it felt terrifying in my system because I had so much human resistance coming up that I had to be with, and to be with yourself fully. So that's why I say it just goes to show, you know, I've had so many journeys with the sacred sacraments this year, as I was called to bring a lot of the retreats back on, and offer that again, that it's like, wow, my level of attunement and where I'm at, that I was actually really excited. And I had stuff start to churn and the human stuff come up, which we know will always come up in every experience. And because I got to look at that and move through it, it allowed me to go deep with it into what I wanted to experience, which was like, I'm integrating, I'm being rebirthed, I'm being recalibrated, and I put my awareness there. And it's the same thing I see as working with sacraments, where it's like, when we prepare and we can start to cleanse and clear what is here and in the way. Again, if we have a perception of, oh my gosh, this is gonna be hard, this is gonna be scary, because this, all the things that you said that experience entails is I would say exactly the same with sacred sacraments. You know, it's most people have to, again, work through, either they're not going to go because they've heard it and they're like, that sounds scary, or they get curious and they get to have these conversations and they work through all the ideas and the stories. It's why we do so much to allow you to go, hey, you're safe. Like, we're going into safe, sacred space. You're literally gonna lay in the Garden of Eden and have, you know, just this open, you know, moving through your system, cleansing, clearing, awakening, opening it, like you experienced. We're just like, love. And then people go, okay, so I can work through this fear that I don't know what's going to happen, and I can step into that. And, you know, I'm grateful to witness the evolution of my own soul, and how I could experience it in such a different way than before. And then how I can bring those awarenesses that other people can receive and implement.
And the evolution of your soul is so beautiful to witness, and to know you and to see the expansion that you're living, not just thinking and not just feeling, but that you are doing and having by result of really being attuned to what your soul is asking you to experience. So I want to drop down and talk about what your body experiences, and particularly coffee enemas.
Okay. I don't drink coffee, but I do put it up my ass, I like to say.
To lighten this conversation up just a bit, because I've got a few more questions before we close, but the coffee enemas, I gotta tell you.
Yeah, babe.
It's a thing.
It is a thing.
It's a thing. It's like, it's awesome. Like,
have you started to implement it more, huh?
I have, yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All my besties that I've shared these codes with, they're like, it's the coolest thing ever. And my clients that do it and whatnot. And on the general, most people that come into my retreats, and I share all this deep, like cleansing the body and preparing the body, and the enemas being, I mean, it clears energy, stuck energy from your system and your gut, which our gut has its own brain. You know, it's like our heart has actually the brain that we get to operate from, which is our awareness to operate from our higher heart, or our make decisions from our heart, but our gut as well. And when all this stuff is stuck in it, and so, yeah, like most people like, okay, that sounds like a little much. And they do it a little bit when they get ready for retreats, but it's usually after like you're experiencing, you're like, okay. And I'm like, here's some tricks and hacks to like make this easy, where you start to implement it. And I swear my besties like send me messages where like, coffee enema, it's awesome. Da, 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 da. And I tell you, that's when I practice my Spanish every day. And it's like, lay down, do my coffee enema. Yeah.
Yeah, it is quite a cool experience. And,
Yeah.
I'm like, why would somebody shoot coffee up their ass? Well, because it actually is it feels pretty good afterwards, I must say. The energy, the releasing energy, all of it. And so,
Yeah.
this really interesting.
Yeah.
You said something earlier that I want to round back to, and that is this conversation that I guess we maybe have with ourselves, or this thought perhaps, which is, why would I entertain suffering? Why would I choose to live in suffering? And it really goes deeper than that, because I think when we are aware of it, and yet for some people, knowing that it is a choice is alone like mind blowing. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, gosh, where do we go with that? Because there's so much available. It's like when we come back to what, we talked about coding and how it's like, when this was a big thing for me in the darkness, where I recognize, you even said, where it's like, we are the source of our own experience and we're experiencing something. The truth is, we're actually not the thing experiencing it. We're consciousness witnessing our mind having a perception about whatever's in front of us, a preference, a program, which is again, the things that want to come up and move through our system, that if we react and we unconsciously, it's a trigger. It's something there's something to heal there. It's when we actually can witness and we choose what we want to do with that, with the energy, where we want to put our focus, etc. Again, as a sovereign source creator. So it's like always in choice. So like 2 days ago, I went to this other city in Guatemala. I traveled to I'm going to go discover the city for a couple of days. And I actually just shared this video on my social media, that I was laughing my ass off, and that my assistant set up a hotel room for me. I get to the city so I could go explore the next day. And she's like, oh, I set you up this VIP cool room with a big old tub and hot tub. And I was like, oh, for a while, because I'm in a, what people would call a second world country. I called it, an evolving country. And I was so excited to have a tub. And so I'm like, I'm going to pack my Epsom salts and everything. And I get there and they're like, oh, so sorry, we don't have a room with a tub for you, problems, da, da, da. And I was like, okay. I was like, all right, well, this is what it is. What else do I get to experience? And through just, conversing with them, they were like, oh, we'll give you breakfast. I don't do breakfast because I intermittent fast and do my coffee enemas and stuff in the morning. And so I was like, what else is available? And they said, oh, you can go to this restaurant and have whatever you want, have all the things. And so I go to the restaurant and it's like beautiful lights and this, just beautiful setting and beautiful people. And I'm just sitting here going like, all of it's here and available. Like, it's all so beautiful. And like, oh, ordering some food and having a little dinner date with myself. And I'm literally in my own little space and dimension, laughing my ass off of just the beauty of life. And I could have been frustrated, mad that I didn't have a room with a tub, and I was all excited for it. My assistant set it up for me, and why did they fuck up, and blah, 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 blah. You see my point? Is like,
I absolutely see your point, because I think, it's and really, and if we can go a little bit deeper, so that to reframe this idea that we, why would we choose suffering? And in fact, we're making that choice. And because I think in the context, most people, myself included, sometimes would think that, but wait a second, like, how could you say that I'm choosing suffering? Like, I didn't choose to have this thing to happen. I didn't choose to have that thing. But we're choosing our response to it, which may in fact be creating our own internal suffering.
Yes, which, if you want to go deep, and we go to the deeper layers of this awareness, is like when we come back to us as sovereign beings, who I believe I chose every single moment, interaction, experience of this existence. Like, I designed it all with my higher, angelic, or, you could call guides, etc. It's like, oh, these are all the experiences. I want to come have the polarity of for my soul's expansion, and like, do. And so as a sovereign creator, like, everything was designed for me. Everything is for me. It's like, that's where the ideas of lack or scarcity consciousness is to say something's missing. It's not here. It's not available. When we exist in a reality, or again, a world where infinite possibilities exist. So now notice, each of us might have our preferences, our programs, our ideas about how life is supposed to be or operate, and there's one world experience. How could then the world always be what it's like this person prefers and this person prefers and this? It's what we're choosing to see it as, and yet there's infinite possibilities. So there's if someone's sitting here operating in a place of like, this happened to me, this person hurt me, abused me. I mean, if you go back into my story, you know, there was you've read my book, so it's like a lot of trauma and abuse and all these things that from that conscious was, this was done to me, and you know, etc. When now it's like, I wouldn't be who I am today if that all didn't happen. I actually chose that and created that and experienced that I could be who I am today. So even from that higher awareness, it's like, there's nothing ever missing. Everything is here and available. What do we want to choose to do with it? So we can stay in these lower ideas and that are creating suffering. So it is choosing suffering, because if I choose the perception that it's wrong or bad, or judge it or shame it, again, I'm choosing a lower vibration of density in my body and perception that creates those thoughts, creates those emotions in my body, which feel heavy and don't feel good. And they keep me in this, that's a choice. And in the same experience, just as like I shared on a very light note of how whatever shows up, oh, well, this is what it is. What do I want to create with it? And how do I create joy and peace and happiness or understanding or compassion? If it bothers me or triggers me, what is here for me to heal? But in a greater awareness, nothing's ever missing. Nothing is ever lacking. We're all just here for our perfect experience of our expansion, our remembrance of all that we are. And life is bringing up perfectly, again, a reflection, because it's all a mirror, a reflection of what is on the inside, that we can actually witness it so that we can cleanse and clear and heal and have a higher evolved experience with it. Hence, to have more love, to have more joy, to have more abundance. But if we're going to hold on to the old ideas, which is creating our suffering, we stay in that same experience and same lesson, if you will. So it's like, from that awareness, it's like, well, wouldn't I want everything to be fucking coming in then? You know, that's why this catapulting with sacred sacraments is like, let's just let it all happen. You know, let's let the human get out of the way that's trying to slow it all down and thinks it can only handle so much and is suppressing. And let's just open the floodgates and allow ourselves to receive and cleanse and clear, that we can be seeing beyond this illusion, beyond the suffering, and choose our bliss, our joy, our happiness, our peace, our love, our neutrality with all of life and exactly how it's being.
Yeah, what a deep, deep, deep perspective on that. And I'm so glad that we got a chance to talk about it and help to frame it around choice. And, you know, I think that's probably the greatest gift that we have, is our ability to choose.
Yeah, babe. I'll go to that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sovereign creators.
Yes. So as we wrap up, I'd love for you to, of course, you know, the name of this podcast series is The Way of the Healer. The name of the documentary that you are featured in is called The Way of the Healer. And so if you could share with us what you would define as the way of the healer that you are. What does that mean?
Wow, I love that. Ooh, that feels juicy. That feels alive and rich and yummy. You know what comes through as you say that, and I connect to the frequency of that, is the way is simply being. Like, being here in my experience is actually the way of our healing, right? Isn't that funny? Because it's like, when I try to distract with life, and the light beings have shown me kind of like there's a few ways where we distract ourselves from objects. Like, I can hear the dog barking and this and that. We distract ourselves from thoughts, we distract ourselves from emotions. But when we can actually witness and be here, I can witness all that and allow what wants to move to heal. And from that place, what I want to add to this is being an embodied healer, like to be embodied, to be here embodied, to experience, like you said, these transmission, these codes, these frequencies coming through. Because a lot of us can, without healing our own wounds, then we're just projecting our shit out for other people. And a lot of leaders can do this. It's like their beliefs, their perceptions, and it can be almost like they're wounded, you know, is stepping into a place of like a healer, but is a wounded healer. It's still spreading these things. So I think the greatest way that we can be in the way of the healer is to be in the way of our own divine discovery, our own divine blueprint, to awaken and activate our DNA and our consciousness, to be able to experience in our body vessels the frequency and the transmissions of, you put it so beautifully, of unconditional love, of unconditional acceptance of all things. I can be embodied healer in this way to allow others to have the reflection of who they truly are as well.
Mic drop. This has been one powerful conversation for change. Thank you so much, Marci Locke. Such a beautiful pleasure to know you, to witness you, to be a part of your life, and to have you a part of this series and all that we are working on.
Such an honor, babe. So grateful for all of it, to be here, to share these conversations, to feel these frequencies, to witness you, to witness everyone, and just, to be a part of it. Thank you. I honor you. I love you. I see you.
I honor you. I love you. I see you as well. And all of Marci's information, the way that you can reach out to her, connect with her on her podcast, her book, her retreats, all of that, all the deets are in the show notes. So be sure to check that out. If you're watching on YouTube, it's all beneath the YouTube video. And of course, on the website under podcast at thewayofthehealer.com. Thank you so much for joining me for this powerful episode. And be sure to subscribe on the podcast, subscribe on the YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for being here. Did you know this podcast is a part of an even larger docuseries? Yep, there's an entire documentary underway called The Way of the Healer, where I introduce you to extraordinary women from around the world who are transforming lives with the use of plant medicine and psychedelics. You can learn more about it at thewayofthehealer.com. Thanks for being a part of my day and for listening. Be sure to check out the website, thewayofthehealer.com, for more details, useful tools and links, free resources, and more. Disclaimer: The Way of the Healer Conversation for Change podcast and its host and guests are providing this information for educational purposes only. We do not condone nor condemn the selling, purchase, or use of any substances that are considered outside of legal acquisition or usage. We encourage discretion and safety when involving yourself or others with substances and activities that are deemed illegal by your official local government laws and agencies. It is your responsibility to research and know applicable laws.